Hello, this is the second video showing you how to configure data logging in the Cogent DataHub. In the first video, we created a database table and configured the DataHub to add a new row to the table each time we logged a new data value. In this second video, we will work with a pre-existing table within the database and configure the DataHub to modify the same row in the table each time we log data. This configuration is useful when you want to add process values to a database that is already being used by another plant or office application. We will start where we finished off on the first video. So you can see that our data source is being read from a local OPC server. And if we take a look at our data logging configuration, we can see here is the configured action that we created in the first video. And when we click on a configured action, the DataHub reconnects to the database and then displays the configuration for this action in each of these tabs. If we take a look at the list of tables within the database, we can see that there is the demo table that we created through the DataHub interface last time. And there is also a demo2 table now, and this is the table that I want to use in this video. When I click on the demo2 table, you'll see that the DataHub has read in the table structure and the data types for this pre-existing table within the database. You'll see that this table is requiring a key field, which is a varchar or string. This is used to identify specifically which row in the table we should be updating. And there's also a column for the ramp1 value, random1 value, sign1 value, and a timestamp. So the first thing I want to do in creating this new configuration is change the data logging type from adding new rows to modifying the same row. And now we can go ahead and we can complete the rest of the table with the data that I want to log. The first column, as we mentioned, is a key field, and rather than choosing a point property, I'm going to type in my own string. I'm going to call this range1, and that will be used to identify the particular row in the table that I want to update. To add in the values for each of the points, I'll first select the point from the tree, then I'll choose point and value, and you'll see that that has put in the value for ramp1. If I do the same with random value, then we get random1 in there, and sign1 value goes in there. And finally we have a space for a timestamp. Just to make things easy, I'm just going to choose one of my points and say I want a ramp1 timestamp to go in the end there. So just a quick review. I picked a pre-existing table from the database. The DataHub read in the table structure. I then decided that we wanted to modify the same row in the table rather than adding new rows, and I completed the data that we want to enter into the database. Now, to save this configuration in the DataHub, we need to go ahead and create a new configured action. So you'll see that our new action is listed below the first one, and you can see we're actually going to be logging values for more than one data point in this particular case. You'll also notice that we've inherited the same configuration for trigger in condition that was in the first configured action. This is done to make it easier when you're configuring multiple actions that all have a similar trigger or condition. It makes it easier for you to create several configured actions without having to retype all of the information. But I actually want to change the trigger event for this. I don't want to trigger off of a point change on the random1 point. I want to make things a little more simple and say that we're going to trigger this data logging event every 5 seconds. And I'm going to remove the condition because when the action triggers, I just want it to write directly to the database. I don't need to do any evaluation of the condition before we do that. So then I'll click on Modify, and you'll see the condition statement is removed, and our trigger event now is to log every 5 seconds. Now, just before I apply these changes, I'm going to disable the first configured action, and I'm simply doing this so that when we look at the script log, we can see just the messages concerning this second configured action. Generally speaking, all of these configured actions will be running at the same time, but just to make things a bit easier in this video, I'm going to disable the first one. So if I then click Apply, you'll see that the DataHub has stopped logging data on our first configured action, and we're starting here every 5 seconds. We're now logging data. We're doing an ODBC update command to update the same row in the table with values for ramp1, random1, and sign1. You'll notice in our previous configured action we were issuing the ODBC insert command. That's the command that adds a new row to the table each time, whereas the update command simply modifies the same row within the database. So let's actually go open up our database viewer. Okay, the first thing to notice is that we now have a demo table from our first video, and here's our demo 2 table that we're using in this video. If I simply modify my query statement to display everything from the demo 2 table, and I execute that command, you can see, as expected, we have a table. It simply has one row in it, and if I refresh this query, we'll see the values for ramp1, random1, and sign1 are changing every 5 seconds. So do another refresh, and this shows you that our data logging action in the DataHub is writing new values to the fields within the same row in the database table each time, rather than adding a new row with every data logging action. This kind of logging, where you read in the structure of the pre-existing table and update the same row in a table, is a good example of how you might integrate with an MES system or other database systems where you've got a table already set up and you want to add process data that will be analyzed by other database client programs. So that shows you how we can make a new configured action in the DataHub by reading the structure of a pre-existing table within the database, and we can have the action update the same row in the table each time.